On this episode, we travel the internets, dropping in on my guest living in a van down by the river. His name is David, and he does live in a van. It's just parked in his brother's driveway. David and I first met during our personal training and general drinking days. Over time, we both transitioned from training in quite opposite directions. I embarked on a journey to master the complexities of the mind, while he dedicated himself to achieving physical excellence. However, we soon realized these pursuits were interconnected. One cannot exist without the other. A journey like this requires shedding one's ego, establishing ambitious goals, and being committed to the daily grind of life. We also share our personal stories of addiction to energy drinks. Let's jump in. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mildly Good Podcast. We are via mobile live. I don't know what you want to call it. This is a kind of a first in the podcast, so I'm really excited about it. Before I get started, going to do all my regular shout outs. Joe Andrade Media, all cool push pictures and videos. You know this already. My guy Jason's Wish Pocket. He's the guy that does all my audio. That's why we sound so great. That's why we sound so great like via mobile right now. Like we sound so awesome via mobile because Jason takes care of everything. My guy Jaron, he has No Names Originals, and then he does custom art and clothing. Shout out and support local North Carolina artists. Last but not least, my guy Mo, Go Bubble app. Use the promo code Go Moderately and you get a discount. So like I said, this is like a kind of a first thing that I'm doing. So everybody, hey, David, where are you at right now?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay. Welcome via satellite from New Jersey. My I would say acquaintance, David. We just have similar paths. We were on Fitness Pass. We're acquaintances at this point. I mean, I think we're going to be better after this, but yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Across mutual friends, that sort of it's like Facebook, but we actually met each other.
Yeah. Like the old days.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine like the concept of just like meeting people in person and that being your Facebook?
And that's the only way to live. Can you kids, can you imagine?
You know what I'm going to do? This is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go around with a Polaroid camera. And then when I meet people, I'm just going to take pictures with them with the Polaroid camera and just like give them a copy and just post this on your wall. And then that's my real life.
Here's what they're going to do. They're going to take a picture of it and then post it on their digital wall. You say, no, you actually have to take a push pin. It's a thumbtack and put it on your physical wall.
You're like, if you're going to take a picture with your phone, I need you to put it on your wall and then take the picture with your phone on the wall to prove to me that you put it on the wall.
Yeah. No, invite me over. Make it real weird.
I have to see it in person. Anyways.
I'm going to call your mother.
So, my man, how are you? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm in good spirits. Feeling
in New Jersey.
Awesome. In New Jersey, and it's overcast here. It's chilly.
How cold is it in New Jersey right now?
Right now, I think it is 41. I don't want to lie to you.
Well,
it's actually kind of like a nicer day.
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be way later. But I'm just curious about how your day is going today.
Good. Good, man.
So, anyways, before we actually get started, do all your shout outs and what you do and where people can find you at and stuff.
Well, I'm primarily on Facebook right now. I run a free group called Fitness Lifestyle Strategy, where I help all guys drop fat, build muscle, live better. And I'm working on something pretty special, I feel like, inside of that group that will lead to what I've been doing over the last couple of years, which is coaching guys at a deeper level, but with the same line.
What is this like life coaching? Is that what you would? How? Well, I think you had a different way of wording it though, right? lifestyle coaching. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, fitness lifestyle strategy is
Okay,
what I call it.
So explain it.
So it's essentially like, it's back when we met. I think it was shortly after or during, we were both at 24-hour fitness at some point, just doing the training thing, right? And I was doing the training, and then ended up leaving that and running a nutrition store up the street from that gym, getting into bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding. Thought that was kind of cool. Did a couple of shows, ended up running a team, found out I was really good with the nutrition side of it. Did really well with that team for a couple of years. Kind of grew a distaste for what was happening in the industry. And I was like, man, there's got to be something better. There's got to be something more to, when you put somebody through a program, and they come out looking a certain way, like I feel like they should be able to sustain some aspect of that, or they should be feeling the same way that they look.
Really quick.
Sure.
Can we just really quick talk about like the disdain, like what happened, like what put the bad taste in your mouth with the bodybuilding? Would you say community? I don't know how.
I think it was contrast, because the first 2 shows that I did were a blast. They were awesome. They were very much a camaraderie sort of. There's a couple of buddies of mine that did some with me. Every time I went and did a show, I met some guys that were doing it, and maybe because the location was a little bit tight, we're all kind of forced to interact with each other. It was a blast. It was just like a bunch of guys that went through 12 to 20 weeks worth of something. We're all kind of like bonding over that. We went out, did our thing on stage, had a great time. Half of us went and ate together. Like it was just cool. And then after that, I started noticing that there was a little bit cliquish, and then some of the competitors I was working with were not having a great experience, especially some of the bikini competitors. And I was like, this is not
like, so in what way, like what was happening?
Just real cliquish. I think there was some politicking going on. There were friends like acting like not friends anymore. It was just like, it was kind of middle school, very childish type behavior. And I noticed that I kind of took a step back at one point, and I was like, man, this is kind of ubiquitous across all of these shows that I'm going to, right? And over the course of that following year, I was just like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And so I kind of started, for a very short time, I touted myself as the anti-prep coach. And the filter I would bring people in through was, essentially I can get you here. I have a skill set. I know how to run the experiment really, really well. The one variable is you. If you can be constant, then you'll do really well, right? But the key is, if you are putting more stock into what those 8 strangers at the table in front of you think, then the process of how you get there and what you're going to do thereafter, you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and I'm not a good fit. And so I lost some clients because of that, but the handful that did stay, I feel like we just bonded, and it was the right type of experience for them, being more like a client-centric approach to these shows as opposed to an award-centric.
Do you think that like distaste grew because you got higher up in the sport, or do you think it was a change in the sport? Does that make sense? So like,
no, I don't. I mean, it seemed like in that Central Texas area, it was growing popularity, but I don't want to say that I wasn't necessarily getting higher up in this sport. I was just doing it more. And, experiencing it at different venues and different shows. And, again, that was just my experience. Maybe that's just kind of how I saw things, but, it ultimately led to, more of what I'm doing now, which is, a lot of the mindset coaching.
And do you specifically do like mindset coaching for like guys going through competitions, or is it like everybody?
No, right now it's, I did a little bit. I kind of practiced, without like a proper framework when I was working with competitors. But right now it's just guys who kind of are at a place where they feel like, to a degree, they've lost hope. They resonate with my message. They get on a call. If they're a good fit, we move forward.
2 questions.
Sure.
1, tell me about your guy group that y'all pump each other up. And 2, are you living in a van down by the river?
So I'm actually part of several groups. The guy group I was talking about was actually just one. I'm not even sure which one it is. I'm a part of several because that's kind of part of how I go out and I help guys and I try to deliver value and also a bit of a organic marketing as well. So this one I'm in part of like 10 of them. I don't remember which one it was, but it just happened to be a guy.
Yeah.
We just happened to be a guy. Like we commented on the same thing. We kind of got on, started talking. And he's like, hey, I have a free group. Come check this out. Yeah, I'll go check it out. And then, well, come check out mine, man. So we're just kind of like, shooting the shit, chatting. And we just kind of got on and started voice messaging. And we just, sometimes you meet people and you're just like, all right, we're supposed to be brothers. You know what I mean? That sort of thing, which I feel like is very rare. But he just happens to be a guy that we got on real well, and we're just kind of like every couple of days we're on voice notes like, hey man, this happened. I'm doing this thing. Hope you're doing well. Like just kind of gassing each other up and like teammates would. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to push each other.
I have a ton of thoughts around this. At a very basic level, it's just like. In the day and age we live in now, you need something that pulls you out of your house to go do things, and whether it be like a sport or a meetup group or something, but those things are very important in interacting in that way, right? And you don't know if those relationships exist that you're talking about if you don't go do shit, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But I think that the second level of that is that when you can be a cheerleader for someone selflessly, right? And I'm assuming that's how you you and this guy, like you have no other invested interest than his best interest.
That's it. And it's not even, I guess, best interest. It's just awesome to, I guess there was kind of a precept of, there was a little bit of being open, vulnerable, like, hey man, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing. We kind of, I think it was primarily over marketing is really where the gelling kind of happened. We started talking about things we're trying to do with our marketing, directions we want to go, and programs we've been in, stuff like that. So just kind of some common ground that we stepped on. And from there, it's just been, yeah, dude, I just want to see you fucking win. Like, and there's some psychological aspect to that too. When you see somebody that you resonate with, you see parts of yourself in them. If you're seeing them winning, then it's like, oh, I feel better too. I feel like I'm winning. So it's just kind of like this positive cycle where I feel like everybody wins.
Let's take it. It's easy to put like a teammate mentality around like two dudes like being teammates because like it happens. You know what I mean? Like in a sport, yeah. Right? But like at a basic level of just like a human or as like in your partner, like it's really weird how much we work against our teammate. Does that make sense? Like
for sure.
Like
we can get in our own way a lot of times.
Right. And like how we kind of like sabotage our teammate. And, I guess what I find so interesting is that the last thing you would do would be to like sabotage a situation. Like you're trying to make it the best possible outcomes for everybody at all times. And that's just like a really great way to live life, just period, with people. You know what I mean? And it's weird that we don't do that. It's weird that like this guy cuts me off in traffic and my first thought is like, fuck that dude, when it could be that like maybe he's rushing his girlfriend to the hospital because, or maybe he's late for work or he's in a panic or he's going to get fired. You don't even know what's going on with him, but you take it like he did something to you. And that's like,
like you take it personal, right? Instead of like, and that's an interesting thing, man. I feel like we could really go on a tangent with this, but
take off. I'm here.
Well, this concept of like going out and just not being present, going out and operating in a place very high in ego where everything that happens, you automatically receive and frame that as it is happening to you. When there are billions of other people in the world, there are innumerable amounts of scenarios and situations that could produce a particular result based on how billions of people behave. Like it is almost not even worth saying because it's so big, the system that we're in, the maybe system not the right word, but just like,
no, I think you're right.
I just feel like there's to go out into the world and be so self-concerned with what's happening that you're missing things in front of you. It's super easy, especially because of here in the US, especially the way that that we are trained and educated to live and survive. It's very, very easy to, I feel like, be reactive in that way. When truth of the matter is, maybe someone cut you off, and like you said, they're rushing their girlfriend to the hospital, or they're thinking about some massive problem that could very well be insurmountably larger than yours, and they just weren't paying attention. And so instead of thinking of that hypothetical and reacting in a way through love, or in a way through caring, or a way through giving, however you want to frame that, then we immediately jab cross. What are you doing, Jack? I'm having problems here. I'm on the road. What about me? Like that sort of microaggression. I feel like there's a lot to be said about going out into the world and just being very aware of where you are, why you are, and how you're showing up in those moments.
I had this really kind of interesting thought, because you kind of did you're like we come out defensive, we come out boxing, right? And I started thinking about the really great boxers of at least our time, and we could easily just go just Muhammad Ali, right? He was very much an observer of people and things, right? I mean, he was very much an observer of the sport and boxing. And so you could say when he went out to box, he didn't necessarily box on the defense. In the sense of it's I have to defend myself. He's I'm going to wait for my opportunity, and just viewed it in more of a relaxed instead of defensive type of way of I'm going to react to what comes to me. And that's a lot about life, of just kind of living in the universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. First thing I think about is I played soccer all through high school, college, and a little bit thereafter. And one of my favorite players, French guy Thierry Henry, who was a converted midfielder, ended up becoming a striker, played for Arsenal. If you've seen any highlights over the last 20 years, he's probably in some of them, very likely in some of them. But one of the things that he said after a breakout game, I think it was a Champions League game against Man United. It was a big game. And someone asked him about the way he plays. He goes, I just do what the game asks of me. If I need to run a sprint with the ball, then I run a sprint with the ball. If I need to post up and play physical and do better hold up play, I do hold up play. If I need to beat a defender, score goals, I score goals. And I felt like when I first saw that interview, man, that was heavy. That was powerful for me, because at the time I was still playing, and I still had hopes of. I was in my junior year of college, still had hopes of playing at a higher level, and I was like, man, he just. When you compare how players can be so great, how they can show up and be so calm and confident, and do almost all the right things at almost all the right times in almost all the right ways, how do they do that? And I think the way he shows up is, he was a world-class player till the day he retired. And I feel like the way that he showed up was understanding who he is, incredibly skilled, super fast, athletic, could read the game amazingly well as a midfielder, even as a number 9, a striker. But he just showed up with this humility of, okay, well, I know what I can do. Here's the landscape of today's match. What is it going to ask of me? And then he would pick and choose those skill sets. He would pick and choose even the mental warfare of the game, that level, the words he would say, all the way through how he, tried to make the players around him better. I feel like he just he embodied what we are missing in life, what a lot of us are missing in life. And that is, you might be a great salesman. You might be great with, your kids. You might be awesome with cars. It doesn't matter what your skill set is. What is the day asking of you? And can you show up in a really organic, very authentic way? So that way you're making a positive impact, but you're also not unleveraging yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. That's very eloquent. That's perfect. I just think about no matter what someone believes, I think we could all agree there's something bigger than us. right? Like, I mean, we're
100%.
on this
Yeah.
fucking spinning rock. So like you can be an atheist, but like there's something bigger, right? And the more you stay in the flow of that energy, or you stay in the flow of the universe, the better your life is going to feel. But you can't do tasks that you don't have the right tools for. You can't do the right task at the wrong time. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to stay like when you said like within the flow of the game, you have to stay within the flow of what's going
Yeah.
on. And just because you have a day planned and it all goes to shit doesn't mean it was a shit day. It just means it just didn't go to plan. Like that fucking happens all the time. You know what I mean? But like you have to be reactive to what the day gives you. Is that kind of confirming what you said?
Yeah, I think I think you're speaking more to the a bit of the minutia in how to get from point A to point B, do it successfully, and feel good about the process. One of the things that my dad says a lot, which I really like, he was a military guy, and when he talks about having struggles in just normal everyday life, he would tell us when we were on the battlefield, if he was on a attack team or something like that, the fundamental was shoot, move, and communicate. And so in the real world, it's like the way I interpret it, the way I received it is always you have a skill set, you know what you want, you know what your target is, you've got your weapon, whether it's words, whether it's, and I'm speaking in a positive sense here, whether it's, for me, I coach a lot, so it's how I'm showing up for my guys. That's my weapon. Like that's my weapon to get to the target, right? Once I do that, if it goes to my original plan, then awesome. Then I'm moving on to the next piece of it, the next perspective, right? And then I have to communicate that. But sometimes that it doesn't work out. Very often it doesn't work out seamlessly, right? Like we're kind of put in these situations, whether subtle or like just catastrophic, where that strategy of shoot, move, and communicate in and of itself will move you from point A to point B to point C, whether you had a plan or not.
Oh yeah,
I feel like it's a fundamental.
Whether you want to go or not, you're going. I mean, the world's spinning. So like whether you're ready to go or not, it's either going with you or without you. Like that's the way I kind of feel. And I feel when
I think that's good.
Yeah, when people move out of when they move out of the flow, they get stuck per se. That's where a lot of, bad habits, comfort, like all those kinds of things start to happen, right? Like, that flow is what keeps everything like moving. And if you decide you want to stop for whatever reason, the world doesn't give a shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like the world as the universe, the world, not people and things, but like the world as a universe that you live in doesn't care. Like it keeps going,
It just is. It just keeps going. Yeah.
Okay, let me. I got a question for you, real quick. What value does a stranger's opinion of you have to you? What value do you find in a stranger's opinion?
What value do I find? What's
about your in talking about when and a stranger speaking about you? What value do you find in their opinion, right or wrong?
I don't.
Does that make sense? You want me to kind of give you an example?
It does. No, it makes plenty of sense. I just don't know that I have ever been in the habit of putting much stock in. I'm going to say that with a. Sorry, my phone keeps bumping.
Busy guy.
So I feel like the simple answer is none. Like I've never really been someone who cares an awful lot about what other people think of me. In recent years, having moved into the online coaching space, I have to say that's definitely changed a little bit, but only through the filter of when I put something out, and I guess there's a lot of ways to interpret this, but when I put something out, number one, is it reaching the strangers that I want to reach? Right. And if it is, are they receiving the message close enough to my intent to where they're feeling called or they're feeling some sort of compelling to move forward or whatever the case is? Now I say that, but everybody's perception and opinion of life and everything that happens therein is based on, it's the hermeneutics, right? It's the way they think, their previous experiences, and how they choose to interpret that amalgamation of stuff, right? So I feel like it's never been a wise decision for me to think an awful lot about what strangers think about me. However, if I can influence, I think this might even tie back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier with, how you're showing up in life for yourself. Like if I'm showing up in life for myself and I'm doing it in a way that aligns with my core values and I feel strong with it, and I'm just like, to use a buzzword, in flow, then I know that what someone thinks about me, they're strangers, like they don't know me. What I mean?
Like,
so it's difficult to put a lot of emotional equity into the words of a stranger.
Let me give you like a hypothetical. Okay.
Yeah.
Or let me ask this first. It's very important for you to know every aspect of yourself. Would you agree? Like, like you need to know like what makes you mad, what make, what you like, what you
Sure.
don't like, all that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
My thought is that if someone comes along that doesn't know me and they present something to me that I've never thought of, or that I don't think about myself already, like that I haven't already explored or found like new information, I'm kind of like, well, that's new. Never thought of that before. And like, I feel like that I owe it to give it just like some thought to go, I never thought of myself that way. Like I've never thought that maybe I put that off to people. That's interesting. I wonder why, I wonder where that's coming from. Like for me, it's like when Eminem at the end of 8 Mile goes like, tell these people something they don't know about me after he disses his whole self on a rap. It's like, if I know all the bad parts of myself, like, what are you going to tell me? Like, how are you going to, I mean, I know what I fucking do and don't do. And if someone comes along with information, it's kind of like, did you know you do this? I'm like, I don't do that. And then I'd be like, well, do I? Like, maybe I need to check that. And that's why find it, but no one agrees with me, by the way. Everyone I've asked this question, no one agrees with what I'm saying. But I do think when you say there's value, like, I think you said there's value everywhere, or maybe is that something? I think it's everywhere. I think there's value everywhere with everyone. It's just like, can you find it? Can they find it? Like, I mean, is it something that can connect, right? Like, I don't want to think that everyone starts off inherently bad. They probably start off inherently good, I would think. And then their environment maybe shapes them to be bad, but doesn't mean there's not good inside of them, right?
Sure. Yeah. I think I would align with everything that you just said. I feel like there is definitely value in everything. If someone presents something to me, as has happened numerous times in the past, if I'm not in my feelings and I can depersonalize and simply hear them for what they're saying, and consider it in a way that is very objective at first, and say, hey, I see myself doing this thing. I take this action, which creates a result. They're seeing me take this action and create a different result. The key is they are seeing, right? I am seeing, right? And so two people will just never see the same thing in the exact same way for the same reason at the same time ever. Like it's almost never going to happen, right? And so in considering someone else's perspective, you've also got to consider that dynamic of, in soccer, we call it time, space, and arrival, right? Where you play a ball. I tend to relate a lot of things to soccer.
I like it. Go.
When someone's moving, you've got a player on the field that's moving at a particular pace, at a particular angle. Maybe they're curving their run. They have a particular skill set. There's a lot of things to consider before you even strike a ball to get it to them, right? Then you have to decide how you want to strike the ball. Are you going to put topspin on it? Are you just going to hit a solid push pass? Are you going to dink it? Are you going to bend it around 3 defenders to get there at the time that you think they're going to arrive in the right space on the proper foot so they can get a good touch? And is it good enough to make them a better player? So there's a lot of things that happen that make players great. And I feel like there's a lot of things that we are moving so quick in life, or so self-centered wise, that we forget to consider. And so if we're able to just kind of take a step back and look at what a stranger types on my Facebook post that I've never met, the question almost always comes back to, if it's something negative, or kind of like a jab, it always comes back to, well, what are they going through that for them that comment made sense, or that position made sense, right? And so it immediately shifts my perspective to looking for understanding first,
Grace.
before looking to be understood.
Right. Like giving grace to other people about where their perspective is coming from. Is that fair?
Sure. But still really wanting to understand, still really wanting to learn, because in that, if someone says something, I get a piece of data and I'm like, okay, I can sort that out. It doesn't fit against my plot analysis for what I've lived through in my life. But if I get like 15, 20, 30 of those, then I have to consider that as reliable data and start looking at what I'm doing versus that's if I care.
Yeah.
Right. If it's something that is in my wheelhouse, if it's something I care about, if it's something that even makes sense for me right now. So I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot that goes into.
Well,
I don't feel like it's a simple yes or no question answer.
And you're right. It's not as simple as yes or no. It's not like black or white. It's just always stuff that, like, when you talk about like being present, being in the moment, like I just try to take in as much shit as I possibly can on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like I try to like just take as much in, and I'm just going to have you're going to have those interactions with people at times and things. And so I just always take the time to just like give it like some thought. I don't know if I had a weird interaction with somebody, and I feel like if I didn't give it just like a little bit of thought of maybe why that happened, that's a slippery slope to being very naive about your own behavior. In my opinion, you know what I mean? Like, being very self-aware, like, and being very self-aware of your ego and what that means. And, you know, like, and not trying to have one that, you know, damages you or other people. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, quick question. Have you always been this way? Is this these mindsets that we talk about and like how to be and stuff like that? Have you always been like this?
I'm going to say I've always had the wiring for it, but have not always been in practice.
So would you say that who you are now, did that come through kind of, lack of a better word, deflation of your ego? Did like getting like your own personal ego? Is that fair?
Through a lot of pain.
Okay.
These sorts of things I feel like come through. I mean, pain is, you know, we know this from a clinical psychology perspective. We know this at the cellular level. Change only happens through pain. Yeah.
Okay. So
I feel like the easy answer out is my ego's been deflated. I've been in pain. But the truth of the matter is that's I feel like in part how I got here.
Okay. How do you feel about alcohol?
Neutral.
Do you drink?
I have a lot. Very rarely. Once upon a time, I did a lot. Sure. Like most, went through a phase.
Yeah.
But got into a form of work where that didn't make sense anymore. Discovered I'm just super neutral about it. I could take or leave it. More often I don't, because I don't feel like feeling like shit the next day.
There's that. Do you recommend to the guys that you coach and stuff like that the easy on the alcohol?
100%. Yeah. Primarily from a program baseline perspective.
Yeah. But also it just fucks your body up, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does.
It's poison. It's poison.
It's poison. It's poison. And to know, and you probably know this too, but I'll just say it. When you take it from, I don't even remember how it happened, but it's like alcohol, acetaldehyde, acetate, like it goes through this system that requires so much water, so you're fucking dehydrated. It spikes, you know, all this. Yeah. The insulin through the roof. Everything you eat turns and like it's kind of stupid, because there's a perception of what it is, what it does, and what it can be.
It's none
versus
of that.
It's none of that. It's just like anything else in life. When you grab a weight, we love lifting weights. We love moving metal. Like, we're men. We like picking up heavy shit and putting it down. But when you look at a piece of metal, it is just a piece of metal until you put a perception around it, until you take action with that metal, put it in a mental framework, and then it becomes a picture. There's a theater of your mind that is illuminated that makes that piece of metal worth something.
Right.
Same thing when you're looking at alcohol. It is a solution. If you take alcohol and you put it in an experiment and you do all these different things with it, then you see it for what it does, what it is, and what it can be. But it was never truly purposed as a molecule to go into our bodies. We can handle it, to a certain degree, but is it part of a design? Does it make sense? Right. And so for some people, it makes sense because of the life and environment that they cultivate. For a guy like me, it just never really landed. Maybe because I knew the science behind it ahead of time. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do this thing because I want to be part of this environment. Right. And I did for a while, too much. And I was like, yeah, one day I was just like, I think I'm done. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of,
and that was it.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of done. Now I save it for just special occasions. And special is relative. The other night, my girlfriend and I got in a very heated discussion. Right. Some people might call it an argument, but we use nice words and say that, we just didn't agree. And then afterwards, it was kind of a big pressure let off. And she was just she goes, do you want to do a shot of whiskey? And I was like, let's do it. You know what I mean? It just felt like the right time, and I knew I was plenty hydrated for the day. I drank a shit ton of water and I was like, I'm good. You know what I mean? But it just felt like the right.
You go through the Rolodex.
Yeah. It felt like the right time.
I'll be honest with you. I'm,
pretty clean guy.
Relatively clean. Caffeine is definitely, energy drinks are my go-to.
What's your go-to energy drink? If you stop at a convenience store, what are you going in looking for?
Man, I like variety. I tell you what, I feel like I was at the grocery store with my little brother the other day. And I want to say it's Rain makes a strawberry jalapeno flavor.
I don't even know what is Rain? I don't even think I've had that.
Rain, REIGN. I think that's the company.
Oh, it has the helmet on the front.
Yes, okay. Yeah, the helmet on it. Yeah. And I think it's that line, but man, that flavor is out of control.
What's it called? What's it called again?
I think it's jalapeno strawberry or strawberry jalapeno, things you would not put together.
Is it hot?
Is
it spicy?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay, I might have to pick one up and try this out.
Yeah, if you can find it, maybe that's why I would look for that one because I haven't had it in a long time. But usually, I don't know, when a new one comes out, I like to try a new one and see. I had one called Ghost not too long ago, which I thought was really good. Flavors outstanding. But yeah, certainly energy drinks. While I'm winning the battle, they're still a vice.
Well, I mean, are you what do you one a day? Are you where you?
No, less than that.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Less than all coffee and energy drinks, branch chains, if it's got a methylxanthine in there, I think probably less than 350 mgs a day at most.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not well over the high end like I used to be.
I probably do. Well, I kind of vary them, but I probably do one every other day or something. I do drink coffee, but I probably, I don't do an energy drink every day. And especially if I don't have it at my house or something, I won't go somewhere to get it or whatever. My go-to energy drink is the Monster, the tea, it's lemonade tea or whatever.
I've had that one. Yeah.
And it's not even carbonated, it's
it goes down so smooth.
It's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
That was my go-to for a long time. Back when I was still competing, I love that one.
How much are you drinking energy drinks for the taste, and then what percentages for the taste, and then what percentages actually for what's in it? Because mine is very much I'm not really there for the caffeine. I could care less. I'm kind of there for the taste and the other shit.
I think as I tend to go through these rhythms of optimization, I find that when it comes to my caffeine consumption, energy drinks in particular, I find that as I pull back, I definitely try to put them I try to consume at strategic points in my day.
Right.
So I would say, I wouldn't want to give a percentage because I don't know, but I feel like I definitely try to use that. I like strategy. That's one of the things I like. I like systems. I like strategy. And so I like to think about where I'm going to eat, where I'm going to put the caffeine, that sort of thing during the day. But these days, flavor is got to be near the top because it's like, I mean, at any given convenience store or grocery store, you're paying what, 50 cents per 100 milligrams of caffeine or something like that. And as long as it tastes good, like, I feel like you're there.
Well, I also feel it. True or false? There are worse things you could drink.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've got bleach I use for laundry.
No. I didn't mean like that. I meant like,
No, I know what you're saying.
like
Yeah.
like a soda or a slushy or like anything else you could find at a convenience store. Minus like probably water. I mean, there's probably worse things you could be drinking at a convenience store. Well, I mean, and alcohol, but you know what I mean. Like,
Well, so I feel like, yeah, I'd have to say yes, but I wonder how much we're splitting hairs on.
well,
that side.
the whole theme of this thing is like moderation. Like, how do you just kind of moderate your life, live as much in the gray, try to give your life as much balance, right? And so I feel like that, you could argue that, if I drink energy drinks, I'm going to die early. How much earlier are we talking though? Are we talking like a year early? Like I live to be like 90 and I die at like 89 instead. Like, fuck it. Like, and then I'll drink energy drinks for that.
So here's a scary statistic.
Okay. Shit. Are you fixing to bust a hole in my shit?
Well, no, because there's always a lot of things to consider. I read recently from a reliable source that it was something along the lines of every time you consume an energy drink. Now, they didn't say how much of the energy drink. They didn't say how many milligrams in it. Are there other CNS stimulants in there? But they said every time you consume an energy drink, you increase your chance of a heart attack or myocardial infarction by like something stupid like 300%. Right now, what's the standard deviation for that? How long is that half-life? Like, does the caffeine get through? Is it just like, do you have to have like what we used to call adrenal fatigue first? Like, where inside of that does it fall? Is it just an overall blanket statement like, yeah, that's the same for everybody? But apparently that number is out there. You might want don't quote me on that percentage, but I just remember reading it and I was like, fuck, that's really high.
We talked about a little bit before we started that, like we're close to the same age. Like I'm 46. And so I don't know. Tell me if you feel this way. Have you got to like a point where you're just kind of like, yo, if I could feel like this forever, like I'm winning. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I could just feel like this healthy and this limber and this centered, like for the rest of my life, like I'm winning. So everything I do is wrapped around maintaining what I have, in the sense of like, there should be growth in the places where I can, but I can't expect there's certain things that I'm just not going to be able to control over time.
Sure. Yeah. 100%. I mean, hell, after 30, things just don't heal like they used to, but yeah, I would definitely say I'm in a place where optimizing what I have and just appreciating that for as long as I can keep it, is definitely one of the things I say that I used to start saying jokingly, but now has kind of become a bit of a mantra. And I think it might make a t-shirt out of it. Through conversation, they just started, telling guys, hey, I'm just trying to live to lift another day.
That's pretty good.
And making a joke about injuries, but if I can get into the gym and feel like I can go hard and I'm everything's right, I have a great workout, I get out without tweaking something, then I'm happy.
Okay, let me ask you this. So I've kind of gotten into this space, and tell me what you think. Or you can just, I listen to my body. So like I have like certain stuff that I try to get done every day when I go to the gym. Like I go to the gym every day, and some days are just like mobility days. Like I'm just like, I just want my body to feel good, or
Sure, yeah.
Some days are recovery days or whatever. But like I try to listen to my body, and when my body, like if I go up there and I'm like, what am I going to do today? And then I get in through my, my warm up and stuff like that. And then it feels good. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to fuck some back up today. Like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to deadlift today. Like, you know what I mean? My body feels good.
Yeah.
And I kind of listen to my body in that way. And it seems like that it builds a lot more in my getting older. It builds more consistency. Like I'm more consistent about going to the gym. But it doesn't mean that I'm like slacking off. Right. So like if I go through my warm up, I'm like, I feel pretty good. I could get a lift in and feel pretty good about it. I'm going to work on this point today. Like I lift, you know what I mean? But I do have these kind of very, like, if I'm doing nothing on one day, I'm at a minimum, like doing mobility and shit, like just at a minimum and walking, like mobility and trying to walk outside. Like those are the two things I'm trying to get done. If I'm decided I'm not going to do jack shit that day.
I think that's a smart way to go about it. I certainly find myself kind of operating along those rhythms a lot more these days.
What's your overall strategy for like that you kind of preach? Like I would assume maybe I'm assuming what you preach to your guys, you probably do. That would be, make sense, right? So what do you preach to your guys about their lifts and rest and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, you gotta do the baselines consistently. If you're not sleeping, you're not eating, like this is the fundamentals that I feel like everybody knows at this point. If you're not doing the health things first, then what you do in the gym may not give you the benefits as quickly as you're seeking, right? And so there's the ebb and flow to it. I love going in and doing heavy deadlift. It just fucking feels good. My joints don't like it. My back doesn't like it that much. And so I try to, I know what I like to do. I know what feels really good. And so I make sure that I develop a strategy and I apply a system that will allow me to get to that point more frequently.
Yeah.
But, part of it is the longer muscle, stronger muscle. You got to stretch. No water, no pump. You know what I mean? Like you gotta do the fundamental things first that will allow you to have that baseline. Like earlier you asked me, like, do I tell my guys not to drink alcohol when they get into the program? And for the first 12 weeks, it's yes, like that's a fundamental because you got to know where your baseline is. I hold the same contention for any performance enhancing drugs for young people. Maximize your body, see what you can do first so you understand what the machine is capable of. Then if it makes sense for what your targets are, you move on to the next logical thing. You don't start putting the cart in front of the horse and jumping the gun just to get a result, because then you don't really know what you're working with.
How do
you know what I mean?
Okay. One real quick question, and then I have an actual question. Okay. Would you say that if we go like link tension relationship of your body and when everything is sitting where it's supposed to sit, at a minimum as a bodybuilder, that aids you a lot just because your body looks like it's supposed to look? Does that make sense?
Say that one more time.
Okay. So like, I was thinking about like, okay, all things fair and equal. Like if in a bodybuilding competition, right? If everything was fair and equal and just one guy had poor posture or he was like, overdeveloped in areas because he hadn't made his body totally like balanced, right? And then you take the other guy and he is stretched and everything is sitting where it's supposed to sit and looking how it's supposed to look. He's just going to look better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's balance. It's a golden ratio.
But I mean, think about how many people so when we talk about exercise, I mean, I don't know about you, but like being a trainer, and I constantly look at the way people move and I'm like, oh, like that guy's back sucks. And oh, his feet must hurt.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
It's a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse.
Right. And so I think at a minimum, when you talk about stretching, wait, how did you say it? It was cool. You said it in a cool way, about stretching.
Oh, a longer muscle, stronger muscle.
Yeah. At a minimum, no matter how fat or skinny or whatever you are, if you can make your body really mobile, your bucket of shit, if you're fat, is going to look like a better bucket of shit at a minimum. But B,
potentially, yeah, actually.
But at a minimum, like you're in a better position to exercise to lose that bucket of shit. Right. And so it just makes sense. Now, my real question is, How do you get 21 to 25-year-old guys to understand this fucking concept? That's what I want to know. Like earlier, you said you love to deadlift heavy, but your back hates it. And what'd you say? Your back hates it and your knees hate it? Is that what you said?
My joints don't like it. My back hates it.
So I could argue that in that moment, that's your ego. You're like, no, I'm gonna fucking deadlift. I don't give a shit if it makes my body feel like shit. And that's like I think that's a fight that happens with a lot of guys as they transition from their 20s into their 30s, into their 40s, of understanding that like the old school workouts that you're doing, like you could do them, but your body's not there. So unless you're doing all this mobility and stuff and setting it up for these things that you really want to do, like you're kind of going to be fucked. You're probably going to get hurt, and then you're probably not going to get to your goal. I mean, right?
Yeah, for those who are not kinesiology majors and physiologists, there's a lot that goes into, I think, what you just said, that you and I are getting. But I think the takeaway is that, like for guys our age, we are strategic. Like we're a bit battle tested in the gym, right? And so when we go and we're doing deadlifts, there's a lot that led up to us having fun with deadlifts, right? It's not just because we're young, our joints are lubricated, we haven't had any injuries, like we can go in and our kinetic changes, just ripping it and ripping it, right? But for the young guys, I feel like the thing that, and this is just from my case studies, from my empirical data with the clients that I've worked with, the more understanding they have, both knowledge as well as the application, the more open they are to not rushing that process. So, I've worked out with, guys who came in that looked outstanding, that looked great. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't know that there's going to be a ton that I can teach this guy. And then we go through a workout and they're like, I've never had a pump like this in my life, or I've never felt so dense in my life. I've not moved that much weight with, so I feel like in the minutia, there's a lot to give, especially if you're in a place where you're lucky enough to work one-on-one with a young person, to show them that what they think their body is capable of is not the ceiling. Here's what it can look like. And so I think that experience, that's one of those aha moments where they're like, oh, look, I can achieve more. And I feel like this is the crux, right? When someone says, I can achieve more by doing very much the same things, but with a couple of tweaks, then the need for those, I'm just going to say exogenous substances, becomes less, right? Because they can do it on their own. They don't need to spend the money on it. They don't need to usurp the authority, if that's a thing. Like it's just a simpler path.
Yes.
And that's been my experience.
I just think, okay, this is my challenge to you. So when I was your age, it's like it's so long ago, it's 2 years. When I was your age, I had a child. So that just stepped the whole fucking game up like another fucking level, because like I want to be an active, engaged dad. And that requires climbing and playgrounds and like play places and trees and shit. And like I have to be in a place where I can do all that stuff and not be like, my back is fucking killing me. Like I recently took my daughter to one of those like jumpy like trampoline places or whatever.
The trampoline parks, yeah, those are a blast.
So they had like like a ball pit, right? And so she's like, and she's like, Daddy, like, jump in.
Is that with the swing, the trapeze swing, and
and they got like the cage nets and all that kind of stuff, right? And so she's like, Daddy, like, jump in with me. And so I was like, okay. So she wanted me to jump in, and then she would jump in, right? But then I had to get out, and the balls are like up to here, like on her. And so then I have to deadlift her out like every time. And we must have did that like 50 fucking times. And I was like, I'm fucking exhausted. Like I'm exhausted. But I was like, I'm so glad that I'm doing all this foam rolling. I'm so glad I'm doing all this mobility. I'm so glad that I'm focusing on the most weak parts of my body, because otherwise it would have really kicked my ass. I still left there. I still left with injuries. I left with my ankle was fucking killing me. So there's something going on there that I've been trying to figure out. That I think it's just because severe sprains. We don't need to go into the history of that. Tell me, okay, so you are not living in a van down by the river. It is parked in your brother's driveway?
Yes, essentially. Sweet transition. Yeah. So let me give you a little bit of a buildup of how I got here. So I'll spare you the details, but I got to an intersection in life several years ago where my online business was going well. I've always really, really wanted to travel. And it was either, get into another lease and do another 15 months, the same thing, or, hit the road. And so I ended up buying this van. It was gutted. I built out everything in it.
You did all that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick wait. Let's take a quick moment. Can you just kind of give us the cribs tour of the van real quick? Can you just kind of turn the camera, give us like a really quick, like this is the kitchen.
Oh, it's not impressive, man. It's
but you did this all by your. I mean, I'm assuming you've never built out a van before, then, right?
No. So this is, there's definitely like, I'll pitch it here. Like you can see, I got like the roof van. I've got like a big old skylight here.
That's the kitchen.
The sink back here, that whole deal. Kitchen knives. That
is the cab that way.
The cab is here. So I haven't like finished out this area. There's a lot to do.
You have a plant. Look at this. He has a plant.
This is the office space. This is my recording studio.
Yeah,
right here.
This is awesome, bro.
Yeah, so I've got a few things in here. A few things, I'm not a carpenter. A few things kind of fell apart. A few things are still working great.
But hey, really quickly, let me ask you this: do you miss doing it, like building it? Do you miss like kind of figuring?
I want to do another one so bad it's not even funny.
Okay, so
like desperate to do. Well, let me catch you up here. Let me catch up here. Yeah. And how I got to my little brother's driveway. So things are going well, online business. I bought the van. I moved out of Austin up to my brother's place because he had a place where I could just build on site. Loads of tools. His mechanical knowledge is worlds beyond what mine is. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to make this strategic move. I went up there. Took me about 8 months to build it out while I was in the middle of, working and building a different kind of focus to my business. And then it hit the road. And I was like, well, I'll take some time to the East Coast. I haven't seen my brother in a couple of years, my little brother. And so it took myself, a couple weeks to get up here nice and leisurely, stopped at a few different cities, had some fun. And then about a month after being here in New Jersey, I met a wonderful woman who we were together for, I don't know, the better part of like 15 months. And that didn't work out, unfortunately. But now I'm back in kind of like hang out with my brother mode, and still got a few things I want to do to what I call the mobile headquarters before I head back out.
Well, I built the studio over the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So like, this is like what I did while everybody else was doing other shit. This is what I was doing. Right. And I miss so much of like just doing it, like just being out here and
just
then like
creating, right?
just creating. Yeah. And so like, so it's weird how that inspired this, and it just kind of keeps like going. Anyways.
I feel like creation, that's something I really want to try to build an aspect into my business, my coaching business with my guys. And I have it to a degree, but man, there's something to be said about being in a mode of creation that just gets guys aligned. Just it makes the world dissipate. Maybe I'm speaking just for myself or guys like us, but even like right now, my one creative outlet is I linked you in that free group where I've got some of the videos that I put together. That's my creative outlet right now, right? Where I'm trying to take what I'm doing with the nutrition training and the mindset curriculum I have and literally inject these guys into like the hero's journey of their own life, and just give it a whole new, just really awesome experience, a new attractive skin that I don't think anybody's really doing right now, or at least not in the way that I've seen. So
okay,
building something.
I'm going to tell you something. This is not mine. I stole it from somewhere else, but and this is just this guy's philosophy. God was a creator. The whatever made the universe, whatever you believe in, made all this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they put us here, and the only thing that's different, or in the sense of that, like God or whoever could create the birds and the bees and the cows and all that kind of shit. But he put us in this, whatever put us here in this environment, put us in this environment to create. Okay. And you kind of have a choice. You can be a consumer or you can be a creator, right? You can consume what other people are creating, or you can be the one putting it out in the world. And that's why we were put here on this earth, is to be creators, to take what is given around us and create, right? And when you do that from a place of inside yourself that you really believe in, that like means something to you, and you put that out there, it's crazy what happens. I mean, at least that's how I feel about it. I mean, that's how I fucking got here. Like, that's the only way I know how to explain to people, is like, that's how I got here. Well, look, I'm going to need an updated version. Once you update this van, I'm going to need to see like some new pictures, like some highlights and shit. Where are you going to put the hot tub?
I hadn't considered maybe on the roof.
Yeah.
I'll just move some of my solar panels in.
Do you have solar panels on the back?
I've got some on the, I've got 200 watts worth of solar up here that go to 300 amp hour deep cycle AGM batteries with the charger controller. Like it's a whole to do.
Did you do all that?
I'm going to say I did about 90% of it. Yeah.
Wow.
Initially, the electrical I didn't know how to do, so I had help with that. But
that's good.
The rest of it, yeah.
Don't fuck around with electricity or plumbing, either one. Like, just let somebody else do that shit. That's what they get paid the big bucks for. You know what I mean?
You know, I don't have like normal household outlets in here yet. I did an all 12 volt system, and man, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward.
Well,
it's a lot more.
Like, this is my philosophy. I don't want to get electrocuted personally. Like, I have no desire to have like any accident around electricity. just for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, man. Well, usually how I like wrap this, we've talked like a shit ton about this, but usually how I like to wrap this thing up is ask people like, how do they take care of themselves and take care of everybody else? But in this particular, I'll give you kind of an option, right? You can kind of tell me what you do to take care of others, or you could kind of tell me what you do to take care of your guys, or you could even tell me what you preach to your guys to take care of themselves. Any kind of version of that, because there's not enough time for all the information that you have that like I feel like is very important. But like if you just had to nail some of the top things.
Okay, so I'll say what I do for myself, because it's what I offer to the men that ask me to lead them.
Excellent, by the way.
So say that. I'm sorry.
I was like, excellent, by the way. I mean, like, like if you're gonna look, if you don't believe your bullshit, who's gonna believe it? You know what I mean? That's the way I feel about it.
Oh, like, you have to live it, right? I've always been a huge proponent for, you have to be a product of your service. Like if you're not doing the damn thing, even if people follow, eventually hypocrisy is right around the corner. You know what I mean?
Really quickly, do you have any tattoos?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't have any tattoos. Needles are not my go-to.
Man. Okay. We could go down a rabbit hole in this one, but we're not going to. Okay. But if you were going to get a tattoo, would you rather get a tattoo from a guy with no tattoos or a guy with tattoos?
With, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, and like on some level, there should be no difference.
No-brainer.
At some level, you should be able to trust both of them, right? Like, but like, I'm just going to go with the guy that's experienced it the most. That's me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's, and here's the thing. It's like, it's no different than I feel like what I do in business is I'm not an Olympic sprint coach. So if someone comes to me, they're like, hey, I'm running for this college, I want to go to the Olympics. Maybe I can help them out. But at some point, I'm gonna be like, man, I'm out of my depth here. I've not been through the rigors of that. Now, if somebody wants to play semi-professional soccer, I can get them there because I've been there, right? But I don't have the experience, and so I feel like there's a certain requisite to being congruent inside of that help that is just super important.
Well, it speaks to the most authentic part of you. I would assume that like if you can't help them, like either you have a circle of someone that could, or you pass them on, or try to give them a recommendation or what they're looking for. You try to put them in the right direction. So like, you're taking what is given to you and what you have and passing it on to someone else if it's not, I think that's great. Like that's That's the sweet spot of life to me, is just like,
It's easiest, man.
and yeah,
It's easy.
it's the one of least resistance for sure.
Yeah, and I think, and I'll parlay this into how I help myself and how I help my guys.
Sorry.
But
I'm hijacking this
if you're
whole
not
thing.
doing, well, no, I think that's a great segue. If you're not doing things authentically, then you are stretching yourself in ways that maybe don't make sense. And it's very easy to start to feel that tinge of imposter syndrome, or feeling like a hypocrite, or whatever the case is. So one of the things that I help my guys out with is I have 5 main tools that I teach inside of a program I call Mind Body Blueprint. And one of those routines is, like most guys, it's a morning routine. And that morning routine goes through 4 domains of meditation, mentality, fitness, and fuel. And it's very strategic. So I have them go through like I do in the morning. Wake up in the morning, and first thing you do when you're still in kind of that theta state is you consider essentially your best life, right? Like you meditate, you move into that space. And at the end of a certain amount of time, there's always going to be a message that's given to you, right? It's very subtle. Those who have meditated before know what I'm talking about. And you write that message down. You do that for your meditation. You do that for your mentality, which is I define as learning linked to your next target outcome. What's the message you receive? Ultimately, meditation, mentality, fitness, fuel, you have 4 messages. The last 10 minutes of this, what I call the quadrant 5 power hour, is you look at those 4 and you have a personal revelation that you received that morning that speaks through those 4 I am statements, right? You write it down, and that's your mantra for the day. I have them right at the top as their purpose statement. I have a whole like morning journal routine that they go through, they draw it out. But that's one of the things I've noticed helps my guys the most just get so centered, because everything they're doing is directed towards their next 30-day target outcome, right? And that's individualized. It's not my work. A big thing is guys get on there like, listen, I'm not trying to be a big bodybuilder. I'm not trying to do this. And it's not because that's first thing on their mind, they don't want to do it, but because they've seen me and they think that that's what I want for them, right? Which is not the case. It doesn't make sense. It's incongruent. Those things don't overlap smoothly. So I have them go through this Q5 power hour. They have these personal moments every 12 minutes. At the end, they have this personal truth or this personal revelation that they take with them throughout the course of that day. And anything they do there and after is filtered through that power hour, right? And so now they're showing up and they're not yelling at the guy who just cut them off in traffic. They're not, or at least that sort of thing is happening a lot less, right? Because now they're armed with who they really are. They can show up authentically. And man, you know just as well as I do, when you show up authentically and you are on your purpose and you know who you are, the path starts to become eerily clear. And it's like all you got to do is wake up and pull the trigger. The complexity starts to dissipate. Things become easier. You become stronger. You become much more confident in yourself. And ultimately, you become this alpha version, true alpha, not like bro in the gym alpha, not what we've touted as toxic masculinity alpha, but true alpha, showing up through love, showing up through giving, showing up through that mode of creation. And that's personally one of my favorite parts about the day and what I feel like empowers me most. And so how easy is it for me to share that with my guys?
Super
easy. What I mean?
Super easy.
Seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a quick question. Everything you're saying, yes. You're setting intentions for the day, right? You're setting your intentions. Mm-hmm. Everything that you do, everything that we do, the thing that matters most is intent. What is your intentions? Is it for you? Is it for somebody mm-hmm. else? What are you trying to do? What I mean, it's that's when someone talks to you, you need to consider what their intentions are. So what else? What else do you do? Like, so you have your stuff you do for you, your guys. You apply that down. Anything else? What do you have? Like, are you a music fan? I always ask people if they're music fans. Do you like music?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you set? Does music help you set your intentions? Do you ever use it to help set your intentions?
Yeah, actually, frequently. Music has played a pretty significant role in my life in switching modes for as long as I can remember.
You ever here's a challenge for you. You ever work out to classical music?
Huh?
What do you think?
It is, for me, it depends on the kind of workout.
Yep.
Also what my energy has been during that day. If I'm like resonating at like a low frequency, it's been, tough. I had a conflict with this person, whatever happens, and I'm kind of like in a low vibration, classical music is difficult for me to jive with. Or even something like, I love listening to lo-fi hip hop, that sort of thing. So it's interesting how music helps me create that theater of the mind and assume the mentality.
Okay, really quickly.
But I noticed.
I'm gonna rapid fire you really quickly. Okay, I'm gonna say something, and then you're gonna tell me what kind of music you like. The first kind of music that comes to your head.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Okay. Personal yoga by yourself.
Usually some sort of I don't even know what the genre is. It would be some sort of like meditation.
So you don't ever go classical or lo-fi in those situations, like when you're kind of like doing like mobility yoga kind of stuff.
No, I listen to a lot of kind of like, I guess I'll just call them tones. You know how you can pull up YouTube and it's like megahertz, 530 megahertz for compassion or healing. Like that's because I like the brainwaves. I like connecting with that particular vibration when my intention is there.
Man, that's next level shit. I'm gonna have to get on my game. Okay, you're gonna do like traditional lift. Like you're just gonna go fucking deadlift. What are you gonna listen to?
If it's been a really good day, I find myself listening to like dubstep with the heavy drops.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. Sometimes dubstep over rap is pretty awesome. That hits pretty good. Yeah, or like old school metal, like heavy, like
Metallica,
rock band. Yeah, stuff like that.
What about like you're gonna go on a walk?
I don't know. What does the day look like?
But like, let's say like you're gonna go on an early morning walk.
I like to have fun, and so it's been a while, but I like to use this app called Zombies Run, which is more like story mode. It's think of like the real old school, even before our time, the radio shows where the kids would sit in front of the radio and there's 2 or 3 people talking, but it was like 15 different characters. It's that sort of thing where they develop a storyline. You kind of listen to your music as you're kind of going, which is for me typically, or listening to a book or something like that. And then it's like they, like on the radio, they chime back in and zombies actually like chase you and do you track it? So you have to speed up or slow down. So if I'm doing something like that, it's several years ago, I kind of developed that habit, which is fun.
If you're, say, I mean, I'm assuming there's times where you get mad. I mean, everybody gets mad, right? But say someone made you mad, and now you're going to like process like that emotion. Like you're going to process kind of what happened and your responsibility and in your role. Like, what would you do? Would you listen to music and think? Like, do you like a lot of times in that scenario? Like, I'll listen to classical music and just think like a motherfucker.
I usually sit in silence.
Really?
If I'm angry about something, I don't want distractions. I want to feel through it. And I feel like any car traffic, music, or anything like that gets me out of that process, which slows down my resolution.
It's part of the beauty of like me doing the podcast is like probably this moment right here, right? So like for me, like if I get upset, if just say I had poor behavior in any kind of situation that like I'm just analyzing myself, like in my behavior in there, because that's the only thing I can really have control over, right? And so for my if it was dead silent, like I don't know if this is weird, but I would just kind of like start talking to myself. Like I could just it's like there's too much going on in my brain. And sometimes with like a background classical, like I'll go on a walk and just like a background classical in the background, it's like my brain just starts to just think, and I don't even hear the music anymore. It's just like the background music to
like
my life.
You out.
Yeah, it just like it's like you know, I'm in the movie Notting Hill or something. Like I don't know, like I'm in some sort of like whimsical movie, and this is just the background music as I walk and stuff. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's really weird. I used to ask this question on my podcast, like if you were gonna be like in a movie and your character like comes in, what song would like play in the background? You know what I mean? And so like I have a whole playlist of songs like that like get me hyped up before like I'm gonna do I call it my vibe playlist. And it's what I listen to
I like that.
to get in my good mind state. And like it's all kinds of weird shit. Like I mean, it's like there's old 80s music on there, there's classical on there, there's like just hardcore hip hop. There's just like
so I'll answer that. Okay. Those edits that I've been putting together in my free group, all the music is the symphony of what I would want the viewer to feel and understand about me as I enter scene.
Yeah.
Like all the music I'm using, like everything I'm saying, everything I'm doing, like obviously it's like we're coaches. What we do is a reflection of where we've been and who we are to a certain degree. And that's what I'm sharing when I do these, like trying to make these. I'm not an editor. I use like iMovie Basic 1.0. But I'm trying to make like these cinematic kind of edits to elicit an emotion. And if I was coming in on a movie, those sorts of, I got like the 80s synth kind of going on. There's like the epic buildup, the final rush to the castle sort of, you know, orchestral music going on. It's cool stuff.
So here's my challenge to you. I challenged this to one of my other friends. So like, I forgot, I think before I was calling it my pre-pod playlist or something like that. And then one of my guys came in he's a DJ, he's from my hometown. And I was asking him, I sent him that playlist and I was like, here, analyze me and what you think about this. And so then he shared his playlist with me, like, but he called it his like vibe playlist. So anyway, so we just kind of like talked through and stuff. And there were so many songs that were the same. And then there was just songs like, how did that get on there? You know, and whatever. And so we just talked about it. And I have this whole idea of like being able to like just share vibe playlists with people. And I think it says a lot about you, like in the music you would choose. So I challenge you to make a vibe playlist and share it with me. I'll share mine with you and you can.
I already have it.
Oh, sweet.
I already have it.
So now
there's a YouTube video that I listen to often before I get on a call with some of my guys. And when I was doing group calls, I would actually use it when I had them do activities. And it's long. I think it's a few hours long, but man, that thing hits.
You got to send me a link to this shit.
I will. I'll pull it up as soon as we're done on the call, and I'll send it over to you.
Awesome. Well, hey man, did you have a good time today?
I did. Yeah, I enjoyed talking, man. It was fun. I like the background that you got in there. Whenever I get back to Texas, I'll have to pull up and check it out.
Oh, dude, like, no, when you come back to Texas, you got to come in and like, we got to do the whole deal. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to come in and do the, yeah. Cause I feel like that I could have talked to you for another 2 or 3 hours. Like, I mean, and, you know, and just, you know, and our first time kind of really connecting back. I mean, wow. One, like, okay, so this is me being totally honest. You sent me all the stuff to like look at for your Facebook and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But I almost purposely didn't look at it just because I wanted to be curious. I didn't really know a lot about what you've been doing. And I'm so pleasantly pleased to hear that someone is doing like what you're doing, because I think it's very important for not just people and humans, guys. I mean, it's the idea of like taking control of your own life, slowing it down, all the stuff that you kind of talked about. It's so important and it's so ignored. And I think I tweeted this the other day, like, you know, the one thing that no one can take from you is your mind, and we treat it like shit. You know what I mean? Like, and so
you put it on your Facebook too. I saw that post.
Yeah. And good. So like, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like when I think about the long-term my life I've had clients that died of old age, and you know, and my parents are getting older, and I'm just starting to understand I don't want to say what life's about, but like, I mean, if you want your life to be worth a shit, there's some things you're going to need to do on the way there. You can't just treat your body like shit and your mind like shit and I guess you can just ride that as long as you want. But like, if you want to stick around for a while, if you want to have grandkids, you want to experience life as long as you can, like you're going to have to get on some stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
appreciate
for sure.
like what I'm saying is it's so cool that you're doing this. So now that I know, now I have a whole nother slew of fucking questions I could ask and I'm curious about and stuff like that. So we could definitely do a round 2 here inside the garage together.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm down, man. Whenever you get back, I'll hit you up.
All right, my man. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate you doing this.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Awesome.
I'm happy to have on.